Be the 5th seed in the NFC. Remember, this year there would be 7 teams in the playoffs, but because the Saints have swept them, it seems unlikely, it's not impossible, of course, seems unlikely that they would end up winning the NFC South, so they've got to battle here for a wild card berth. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Key, let's get straight to it. It is maybe fortunate. We've talked about how the Bucs have had some good luck go their way, lose a game, win 3 in a row, lose a game, win 3 in a row. Well, guess what?
Happens.
This week they're taking on Carolina, which happens to be the very first win Tom Brady had as a member of the Bucs back in week 2. Christian McCaffrey likely to not play again after being out there for 1 week in his very truncated return. So it seems like, and the Panthers are totally going in the wrong direction. If you look at the loss column, they lost 4 games in a row.
Yeah, McCaffrey's not going, I don't think, this weekend either.
Right, so he's out. The team's in a spiral. This is exactly the spot that Bucs need to be in. This is a team they've beaten and a win they need to get.
Yeah, but if you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll get popped. And because Carolina, despite McCaffrey being in the lineup, Carolina was playing good football with him out the lineup. So, this is one of those situations. And look, as a coach, coaches have always told us in football, win the quarter, right? Well, you just win the quarter. There's 4 quarters in the season. And you win the first quarter, you win the second quarter, you win the third, you win the fourth. You add them up in the end and see where it's at. And that's where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are. They're not out of the weeds. They're not done. I don't think they'll win the division because, much like you mentioned, the New Orleans Saints are up 2 on them right now, and they sit at the 5th seed. If the playoffs were to end and start today, the regular season ends and the playoff starts today, they're in the 5th seed. The hype machine started when Tom Brady took over as the quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Everybody assumed that the Bucs were going to roll, Jay. Then they get beat by New Orleans in week 1. Miscommunication. He's learning the system, hasn't been with the guys. Then they go and they win 3 in a row. It's like, okay, then they get popped by Chicago. 4 fingers up, didn't know. He's getting old. He's senile. He doesn't know.
4 quarters again.
4 quarters again, right? then
I can't get that picture out of my mind, though, just the 4 holding up.
Well, because whatever, things happen in games. Then they go on a 3-game roll. They take care of business in Oakland that was playing pretty good. Las Vegas that was playing pretty good. And everybody goes, oh, yeah, the Bucs, woo! Aaron Rodgers come to town. They just get rid of Aaron Rodgers. They just smack him, backhand him like a little fly. Everybody goes crazy. Right. The Bucs are going to championship. Get your tickets now. First team ever, to play in their own home stadium for the Super Bowl. New Orleans Saints divisional opponent rolls into town. Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders come back. A guy named Taysom Hill. The next thing you know, they kick him real hard in the ribs. It's over. Now, all of a sudden, Brady misreads. He didn't throw the ball to Mike Evans. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. Now people starting to look at it and go, well, maybe they might miss the playoffs. Maybe that's the case. Because if you look at it, though, they're above, I believe it's Chicago is right now sitting in the –
They're like 5th.
No, the Bucs are 5th, but Chicago's like 7th, and the Rams, I believe, is like 6th.
Let me tell you right now, you want to go to the NFC. Saints 1, Seahawks 2, Packers 3, Eagles 4, divisional, got to put it in there. 5 Bucs, 6 Cardinals.
Cardinals.
2 Cardinals.
7 Rams.
7 Rams.
That's the cutoff, and the Bears would be 8th, just on the outside.
So you got 6, 7, and 8, or Arizona, the Rams. And now you got a team in the Bears that beat the Bucs in a head-to-head situation. This game is so important for Tampa because the Cardinals go and they play the Bills. The Bills are a pretty good football team, but what if the Cardinals beat them? And then the Rams have Seattle, a division opponent, which they always play well against. And so when you look at that, the Rams beat Seattle. Now the Rams move in front of you. You drop down. And if Chicago wins their game, now you fall to the 8th spot because you're now head-to-head. You lose to Chicago. You sitting as far down as 8. That's not where you want it to be.
Timing is so important in these type of scenarios and who you play at what time. I think this is the perfect game for the Bucs to get back on track. Key also, they only have 4 rushing attempts.
Sleep on Carolina.
No, I hear you.
Don't just sleep on them.
But look, they only have 4 rushing attempts the entire game against the Saints. They were extremely one-dimensional.
One of the NFL's all-time low performances.
I understand,
but when you fall behind, you got to throw.
But that's what I'm saying. So now allows you to come out in this game and establish yourself. How many targets are you going to give Mike Evans? How do you get Antonio Brown in the game? How do you get Tom Brady finding that rhythm? I know you say that the Panthers are a team that you can't sleep on. I don't think the Bucs, Tom Brady or Bruce Arians, are sleeping on the Panthers. But you have to say, if there was an opponent to actually get your legs up underneath you, the timing from that perspective would be against the Panthers.
Yeah, you're a better football team, Jay, than the Carolina Panthers. But Carolina, much like you said a week ago, that could be a sleepwalking game for the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City woke up in the nick of time to win that football game. So when you look at that, you have to guard against being complacent and just thinking you're going to roll in and roll out of your bed and pop the Carolina Panthers. It just doesn't work that way.
I hear you.
And so
but you're not playing the Rams, right? They play the Rams the next week. Like if you were playing the Rams after playing the Saints, then I would be a little bit worried about the level of that competition. The Panthers, even though I know they did take the Chiefs down to the wire, still, like that's a game that you feel
you should win that game. You should. But if you go out there with a game plan much like you did against a division opponent in the New Orleans Saints, then you can find yourself saying, uh-oh, in the fourth quarter. I mean, it happens. It happens. I've watched teams in this league, and I go back to far as back as the Washington other name when they had all the all-stars on the team with the Bruce Smiths, the Deion Sanders. They loaded up, and they were supposed to be the team, the other all-star team. They were supposed to be that. Man, that team didn't even make the damn playoffs.
Remember, the Eagles tried the dream team. Washington tried the dream team. You just got to
be careful, that's all.
Last note before we get to our special NFL guest, you mentioned the Saints. The Chiefs game was just a 2-point loss again with McCaffrey back, but a lot of people don't remember just 2 weeks prior to that, they played the Saints down to the wire. I'm talking about the Panthers here, and lost by 3 points. So even though they've lost 4 games in a row, very competitive against the Saints and the Chiefs, 2 teams that many people believe could meet in Super Bowl 55. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. All of our guests this morning appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, including Kimberly A. Martin, NFL reporter, and we are presented by Progressive Insurance. Kimberly, good morning. I know you talk to people around the league all the time. You heard what the fellas have to say. From the contacts you work, how worried should we be about Brady and the Bucs at the moment?
Zoom, I'm only on this call right now to hear more about Keyshawn's Persian cucumbers, and that's really why I'm here. Listen, I get it. I think part of it is, like you guys mentioned, the hype train. You know, on paper, this is an all-star team, right? You bring in Gronk and Brady, Fournette. Oh, now we got AB. But I don't think we should just hit the panic button after one game. I think especially with this season, week to week, some teams look amazing, and then the next week you're like, what happened to them? And I think it's the same thing. You know, when I talk to people at the Bucs, their main point is that this is a team that just got together. I understand you've got Brady, he's a future Hall of Famer, but they are working the pieces in, and they're still tweaking things on offense. Like I mentioned, you know, Mike Evans came in as the guy, but then you add Fournette and you add AB. I just don't know what the offensive identity of this team is, because you have a lot of options, and you're working guys in. Mike Evans missed time with the ankle injury. So I don't think it's time to throw the bus out and say, oh, this team's not going anywhere. But this is a critical matchup, as you guys are saying, because you look at this division, and then you look at the NFC East.